Reggae music is a weapon, and if used correctly, it has the power to change the world. And that is a quote from yours truly. And this quote addresses one of the main reasons I created Hippie-Fari, the beautiful life-changing message of reggae music. It was created for social change, and its message is as strong today as it was in the 60s when the first reggae records were released in Jamaica. So welcome to another episode of Hippie-Fari, Reggae Radio and Podcast, recorded live in the Ohm and Honey Media Studios in beautiful Ocala National Forest. And I am your host, Scotty the High-Strung Hippie. And Hippie-Fari is a podcast where we discuss all things reggae. So if reggae music is your thing, you're in the right place. Now, what does it mean to carry the low end of reggae for decades? Not just in sound, but in spirit. What does bass teach you about patience, restraint, and power? What happens when an American musician commits fully to a Jamaican art form and earns respect through time, consistency, and humility? And how does reggae become a bridge instead of a border? And what would it take to truly unify American and Jamaican reggae artists, not just on playlists, but on stages, tours, and shared missions? Today, we're sitting with a musician who spent over 40 years holding the foundation, someone who understands reggae and isn't about the flashiness. It's about feel, it's about culture, and it's about community. This is a bass player whose journey connects generations, scenes, and continents. Family, welcome Kwan, to the bass player for Mighty Mystic, to the show. Kwanu, how you doing, man?
I'm doing great, brother. How are you?
Doing absolutely fantastic, man. Thank you so much for taking the time to come on the show. It's an absolute honor to have you on. We are huge Mystic fans. Had the opportunity of seeing him twice now. The first time was at Reggae at the Rock. It was an absolutely fantastic show. I think that was like 4 years ago. Absolutely a lot of fun, but definitely a pillar in the reggae community. And I'm a percussionist, but you'll hear me say on my podcast all the time, the most important instrument in a reggae band is the bass guitar. 100%, man. It's that low end. That's what reggae is all about, man. The guitar is doing the chink, but the bass is just riding it, man, making it work. I definitely love having bass players on, man, because having that low end represented is what it's all about. Now, something that's absolutely phenomenal, man. You've been playing bass for over 40 years.
Yeah.
Do you remember that moment that you first felt the bass guitar rather than just playing it? When it resonated and you were like, man, this is what I'm going to do.
Yeah, I remember that moment.
Nice.
And I wasn't actually playing the bass when that
Okay.
moment happened. I was playing the guitar, and my teacher was actually playing bass. So it's kind of weird. You know, I was a young kid.
Right?
This guy moved into our neighborhood from North Carolina. I was
Right.
born and raised in Atlantic City, New Jersey.
Okay.
And he lived across the street from us, and I would hear him practicing on the bass. I would go over and watch him through the window. I would do this all the time. So one day he said, "You think you can do this?" I said, "Yeah." So I came in, sat down, he strapped me up to the bass, and I started playing the song. So he goes and tells my mom, "If you get him a bass, I'll teach him how to play."
How old were you?
I was 12.
You were able to put those small fingers over them big ass strings, man.
Yeah, you know what it was? It's not even the size of your hand, it's where you place your thumb.
Sure.
You know,
Makes sense.
Yeah. So
Right.
you know, he showed me a technique then that I still use today. That's why I kind of play a little different. And the way
Sure.
that I play is kind of really designed for reggae basses. So that's when then he had a band, and we was doing this song by the OJs called Money, Money, Money.
Okay.
And I was doing the intro. It was the bass that was doing it, but I was playing it on guitar. And then when he came in with the rest of the band, that feeling,
Yeah.
that moment, I knew I was a musician. That was the moment.
That's amazing, bro. The bass was the first instrument that I started on. Then I went to the drums and stuck with hand percussion, but drum and bass, you know what I'm saying? That's
Yeah.
that's the root. That's a beautiful thing, man. That's awesome. So, what was it about reggae, especially early on, that kind of grabbed you differently than other styles of music?
Well, you know, I mean, I grew up in the inner city playing funk, jazz,
Okay.
you know, all R&B, playing in church. And then one day, one of my oldest brothers, he came home from the military. And he had this Bob Marley album. It was Exodus album, you know. And I'm looking
Yes.
at the album. I'm like, Exodus? I said, that's a book in the Bible, you know. I put the record on, and Natural Mystic crept in.
Beautiful.
And from that moment, all I wanted to play was reggae, you know?
That's
So,
beautiful, man.
yeah. So and I listened to Bob Marley before even trying to learn how to play the songs. I listened for a year
Right.
because I was hearing stuff that I didn't understand.
Sure. I get that.
I
Yep.
didn't understand it. So, and where I was from, we didn't have like international radio. We didn't hear no reggae on the radio. I didn't have any like Jamaican neighbors. I had none of that. Now, by the time I was in 11th grade in high school, I went to Philly. That was the first time I ever saw a Rasta man on a horse, seen
Nice.
live radio shows, and linked up with some cats that really gave me the foundation.
That's beautiful, man. And it's cool that you mentioned Exodus. That's one of my favorite tracks by Bob Marley because a lot of people, my first podcast today, we talked about the three major drum patterns of reggae music: the rockers, the one drop, and the steppers. And a
Yeah.
lot of people they don't even pay attention to that. But Exodus actually uses my favorite drum beat, that 4 to the 4, that steppers. It's a do 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 do,
Yeah.
and I love that, man, because Bob Marley's a lot of one drop, maybe some rockers, but not not many steppers. But a lot of people don't even realize that's a steppers track, man. So
Yeah. Yeah.
that's such a hard hitting track. That's beautiful, man. And speaking of Bob Marley, he was definitely your first reggae influence. Was it spiritual or emotional? Like, what was it about Bob's music that drew you to it?
Well, it was definitely spiritual because
Sure.
prior to me hearing reggae, I would always read my Bible.
Okay.
Even I've always been an avid studier of scripture.
Sure.
I used to be a pastor some years
My
ago,
dad was a pastor too.
and so it was spiritual for me because when I started listening to the record, I started hearing scriptures.
Yeah.
And I started hearing history. He started talking about different freedom riders and different histories. So every time I would listen, like I said, before I even tried to play the songs, I listened for a year. So by
Right.
the time I started sitting down playing, I knew some of the history that I was listening to in the records, and then, like So Much Things to Say and Heathen, and, the whole album for me is my reggae foundation, you know.
Yes.
Yeah, so I attribute my oldest brother to introducing me to reggae and his bandmate, which was a bass player that introduced me to teach me how to play the bass. So I didn't run the streets, man. For
That's
10 years,
beautiful.
I stayed home for 10 years, playing indoors, playing on the records. So I learned everything that Bob Marley have ever done. I learned everything,
That's
you know.
great, man.
Every
Yeah.
every yeah, any Bob Marley song I know him because that's what I learned.
That's it, man. That's the foundation. Almost every podcast guest I have on, obviously their first introduction to reggae was Bob Marley, and when they asked me, I'm like, mine was Peter Tosh, man. I was 11 years old, grew up surfing in Charleston, South Carolina, and my buddy Jason, we would go after school. I believe I was in 5th grade, and I got the forgot where I got it from. It was the Legalize It cassette tape with Maga Dog on it and all that
Yeah.
stuff, and pop that in. We listened to that thing till it broke. Now, obviously, I had heard Bob Marley, but I didn't deep dive Bob Marley like I did Peter Tosh until I really got into reggae, and then I really deep dived Bob Marley. My mom had the Legend CD that she got from one of those CD clubs where like you pay a
Yeah.
penny and you got like 20 CDs back in the day.
Yeah.
She had that, so I went and found it and I started listening to that. I listened to that and wore that thing out. Or actually, it was a cassette that wore that thing out. But yeah, I mean, that's I love Marley and Tosh, and I love how they both brought revolutionary messages to the world. But Tosh was a little bit more militant. Marley was a little more about the love, but they were still both bringing that beautiful message of revolution and change from Jamaica, which was absolutely incredible. But at the end of the day, you can't beat the king, man. You know what I'm saying? He is and always will be, you know, the king, and that's definitely Bob Marley, 100%, man.
Yeah, it's amazing because even like Peter Tosh and Bunny Wailer,
Yeah,
those are three different worlds of reggae. And like,
sure,
as
completely.
as I was getting into it, I most definitely got into Peter Tosh, and I got into Bunny, and
Yeah,
people really don't know. Bunny was a dance hall king, man.
Yeah.
Bunny Wailer, it has his own, it's his own world,
Yeah.
And but yeah, I met this guy. He was a bellhop at one of the casinos, Jamaican brother. He knew that I was trying to learn reggae. He gave me a crate full of cassette tapes,
Oh my
like
God, that's amazing,
the
bro.
video ones, the VHS ones.
Yeah.
And you ever heard of this band called? Well, the bass player was Barnett. He played he played for everybody. He played like the headless bass.
Yeah, I used to play one of that. That's the one that I had, man. Weird looking.
Sagittarius Band was the name of the band.
Nice.
And I remember watching Sting '89. That was my first time ever seeing like DJs on the stage with the band
Derek
backing.
Barnett?
Yes, Derek Barnett.
There we go.
When
He
I
worked
saw
with Yellow Man and stuff too.
yes, I actually had a chance to meet him years later. But when I saw that, I knew that if I was going to go on stage and play reggae, I had to move. I already was moving because I grew up listening to Earth, Wind and Fire. I had that Verdine thing, but when I started to get into reggae, it was always a movement for me.
Certainly.
Spiritual.
Yes. Yes. That's a beautiful thing. That's one of the reasons I love reggae music, man, because it's the lyrics are conscious, you know what I mean? It's spiritual. That's a beautiful thing. And you just talked about your introduction to reggae. How did once you were introduced to it and it started becoming a part of your life? How did reggae change the way that you approach music as a whole? Did you look at other genres of music and still did you look at them differently after reggae became a part of your life?
Yes, most definitely. Like I
Yes,
said,
amen.
I grew up listening to funk, R&B, and jazz, gospel, but I have always tried to put reggae influences into those other genres of music
Heck yeah.
growing up. And everybody used to always say, "Oh, we can't do that, we can't do that," but now they're doing it. And this was I'm talking like 79 and 81. I said we need to put a one drop on this gospel song.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And it was hard. It was very hard for Americans to play reggae because it sounded like it was different. But because I was a funk musician, all I had to do was find out where the one was in reggae. And the one, when you find out where the one is, then it makes it easy. So even in the way that I approach music, I speak in phrases. Everything happens in phrases. And you have to have space. With space in between your phrases, that's reggae. A lot of times,
Sure, yeah, you're not playing the whole time, right? I see what you're saying.
yeah, yeah, and then being an American, I would always be criticized because I was from the United States. Oh, you don't know how to play reggae. But then when it came time to play, after the show, there was always a different story. Like which
100%.
part of the island you from? I said, man, I'm from New Jersey. But it was because I respected the music, I studied the music, and I wouldn't just listen to the music. I studied the music. You
Yes.
know, every time Bob Marley's album came out, I would always, go to the beach and just listen to and see what I used to do. I would always listen to the last song on the second side first.
I love that.
Yeah, and then, by being into it, then I was introduced to Steel Pulse,
Yes.
Squad,
Yes.
Maxi Priest.
Were you a
So,
fan of Black Ururu?
oh yeah, I tell
Oh my
you,
God, I love them, man, dude, man.
I had the chance to tour with Michael Rose, and we was doing Black Uhuru stuff, and I tell you,
He's a champion.
up playing Black Uhuru and then having an opportunity to tour with Michael Rose, it was
Yep.
amazing, and a
Yep.
lot of criticism came then when I used to tour with him. Man, this guy's American. He can't play like Sly and Robbie. Yeah,
Right?
because it wasn't just playing the songs, it was knowing the culture and
Yes.
understanding what we're doing. We're not just playing music, we are spreading the message.
Yes. And I know that you were a pastor, and I'm just kind of asking. Like I said, my dad was a pastor, but being involved in reggae and spreading the culture and the message. But being from America and being a pastor, you were talking about the Bible. Are there any Are there any aspects of Rastafari that you adopt or that you kind of bring into your life? Because I know there's some Rastas out there that consider themselves kind of like a Christian Rasta. Then there's I subscribe to Eastern religion, but I also subscribe to Rastafari. And you being an American pastor, but being literally a part of the culture and spreading that message. Was that part of the message that you were spreading and part of the culture that you were adopting and becoming?
Yes. The thing
That's
is, when
beautiful.
I pastored in Africa, I lived in in Malawi for 5 years,
Wow.
and I
Were you
had
like a
already.
missionary? Were you like a missionary?
Yes, I was a missionary.
Cool.
So, in 2003, I went to Malawi. I was already playing reggae music. I was already in the ministry. I was already pastoring. So when I get to Malawi, um, I'm actually seeing the African continent from a whole different point of view because sometimes
Yeah.
when people come for 2 weeks, on a little mission trip, they don't really see the inside.
Sure.
You have to stay a while, So I was there for 5 years. And it just kind of brought in my life, it brought things together, the
Yes.
music that I loved, the message, the God that I served. It just brought everything together for me,
That's
and
beautiful. You
it,
got the
it,
real
it
world perspective.
yeah, it confirmed some things for me, when you're in a third world, when you live in a third world country, and it was the sixth poorest country in the world at the time.
Sure.
I wasn't living like a missionary. I was living like the people.
Yes.
And because of who I was able to go places that other missionaries would not be able to go.
Right.
And I had conversations with people that was very deep. And then I met the Rastafarians in Africa.
Yeah. Oh, nice.
Yeah. So that's kind of like where it kind of came together because, we say one love, but we also are warriors. And what happens what I saw in Africa, I saw so many different levels of people raping the continent.
Right.
So it's like any other person. If you see somebody trying to harm your mother, you're going to stand up to defend her.
That's
So
correct.
we're able to do that through the music.
That's right. Reggae music is a weapon. I say that all the time. It's the last weapon of the people's army, man.
Yeah, and so I mean, the music moves on a vibration where I met so many wonderful people the last year that I've been playing with Mystic. I'm meeting people from all over the country, and they love the music, and they get a chance to share their story with me, how they were introduced to reggae, and I mean, there's some wonderful stories
It's
out there.
beautiful.
Yes, and it's all the same. The stories and the situations and the circumstances are different, but the message is the same.
Yes.
It's the same. So that's the golden thread that runs through scripture. It's the golden thread that runs through culture. It's the golden thread that runs through society that we have to tap in. And that's why, I support Jamaican and American artists, working together on tour.
Amen.
I support that.
Me too.
Anybody who wants to, it was amazing. Anybody who wants to play reggae, they can play with me.
That's beautiful, man. And that's what I love about reggae music. I've always been a revolutionary minded kid. And, when I was surfing, I was a member of an environmental group called Greenpeace. They were like a direct action environmental group. They were very militant, about saving the environment. So I already had that mindset. And when I really got into reggae music, I was like, this music's about, revolution, about change. It was started for social change. And I was like, this is my music.
Yes.
Straight up. You know what I mean? It was made for change. And I was like, this is good, man. This is real good. I like that a lot, man. So that's a beautiful thing. So what we were talking about earlier in reggae, bass isn't the background. It is straight up the backbone.
Yeah.
So how do you personally define the role of bass in reggae music?
Well, I'm a drummer as well. I play
Nice.
congas. I play
Me too.
kalimbas.
Bongos and bongos. Me too. Nice.
I play traps. I think that the bass guitar is the glue that holds the rhythm and the melody.
I could not agree more.
And you have it's a tightrope. You have to it's like a tightrope. You have to learn how to dance in between and make sense of what's going on. So sometimes, that's where it's a lot of times I know guys who went to school for music theory. They know a lot of theory. They know how chord structure works, but they can't play reggae. They don't understand it. And I said, it's like going to a child and say, I want you to write a thesis. The child doesn't even know how to talk yet.
Yeah, right.
Once the child starts talking, if you write down what the child is saying, you'll get your thesis.
Yes.
But don't go to the child and say, hey, you need to learn how to write first before you can express yourself.
Sure.
Reggae music for me has allowed me to express myself musically because I'm not, college trained. I major chords and minor chords. I learned all these things on my own, because
That's
I
great, man.
I have my own music that I work on as well. So I
That's
play
beautiful.
keys and everything. But reggae music has allowed me to learn how to move around a chordal structure in such a way that it makes it melodic and makes it felt.
That's great, man. A lot of people think reggae, that they'll hear it on a cruise ship, and they're like, "Oh, it's just," they think it's just simple, chill, relaxing music. I'm like, and then people who love reggae music who are trying to learn how to play guitar, they're like, "I got a guitar, I'm gonna learn reggae." I'm like, "You better learn something else first, because doing that skank, that cross picking and stuff, and that muting, that is not easy.
No,
That
it's
is
not.
not easy."
It's a lot of things you have to learn first. You have to learn rhythm and blues.
Sure,
You have to learn blues. If you want to play reggae, you have to know the blues.
certainly, 100%.
Yes, an aspect of reggae music is blues because the music is a music of the sufferer as well.
That's right.
The one who suffers, how are they expressing themselves? Like I said, when I was introduced to reggae, it sounded so different. But then the more that I got to learn, it wasn't as different. It was as if musically I was home. And
That's
even
beautiful.
still, like growing up, I couldn't play like Stanley Clark. I couldn't play like Jaco Pastorius. I can play like Marcus Miller. I know how to thump and funk, but I
Right, right, right.
I couldn't run the bass like all these other guys was running. Then I found out that where I live in bass is holding down the line.
Right.
And I've done that. I've jammed with cats and we was doing the song. I played one note. They moved around my note quarter, and I just held that one root note, and the music was rocking.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah. So
So then what separates a reggae bass player from, just your run of the mill regular bass player? Because I mean, I could tell you, I think reggae bass is probably some of the most intense bass out there. But I know you kind of talked about it a little bit. You have to find where to fit in. But what kind of separates you from, just your average run of the mill, just playing notes, you know what I'm saying?
yeah, well, I think for me, there's two types of music that's when it's played live, it's played at its highest intensity. That's gospel music and that's reggae music.
Beautiful.
Reggae music, the thing about reggae music is when everything locks in, the music becomes very clear. You can hear everything when everything locks. Gospel music is the same way. When it's played right, everything clears up. It's as if, and this is a saying that I use, the notes of silence must be played. So
Nice.
when you play reggae, there are moments of silence in between the lines, and you
Right.
have to really develop that silence around the note. That's what makes reggae what it is on bass.
I've heard that people say sometimes it's not about the notes you play, sometimes it's about the notes you don't play.
That's right. It's the
Right.
notes you don't play.
Right.
When you lock in with a drummer, there's a lot of things that bass players can do. There's a whole lot. And what I love about reggae is it's a music of respect as well because
Sure.
people, they may listen to it and they say drum and bass or rhythm. They're just parts of what's going on. They may hear the snare drum, the hi-hat, and the guitar. The bass drum and the bass guitar may drop out, or sometimes the bass may go by itself. All of those different things we're mimicking engineers like punching in and punching out, but the engineers get the concept from the musicians,
Right.
you know? And by me learning reggae from an outsider, quote unquote, point of view, I wanted to know what that was all about. You know, why did the bass and the drums stop here? Why did they come in? So I began counting. How long did they sit out? When do they come back in? What's different? You know, when they mix, what is that? You know,
Right.
and those are the things that you do in reggae that you really don't find in other genres of music. You know, musicians have
100%.
to respect one another to be able to do that.
Well, yeah, man, you got to be able to play together. So how do you balance that where you keep it simple but powerful, especially in like the one drop and the roots rhythms? How do you balance that simplicity, but when you know you just got to go hard? You know what I'm saying?
I think it's was playing with Mighty Mystic. I believe his energy really guides us as a band. Whoever's leading the band, they pretty much drive that aspect of what we're doing, and it's a we feed off one another. Other than that, you have to do your homework, learn what you're doing, because when you're on stage, you're playing the songs, but you're also communicating with one another. So
Certainly.
yeah, you're communicating with one another, and I think that when you get a unit together that knows the vision and the purpose of what we're doing, it becomes fun, you know. It becomes
100%. Yes.
yeah, yeah, it becomes fun.
Yeah, it's cool. Like you said, it's you're communicating and you're seeing the fruits of your labor create something beautiful. You know what I'm saying? You're like, there's people up here. You're pretty much speaking your own language, man. Which is beautiful. So over decades of playing, man, how has your relationship with the bass guitar evolved? Because I know I have a relationship with my congas and bongos. You know, at first it was intimidating. I'd stand behind them. I was like, "There's some big ass drums." Now, like, I feel at home. I feel like when I'm playing them, I kind of fall. I'm a part of them. So how has your relationship evolved with that bass guitar over the decades that you've been playing?
Well, I do a lot of things that are different than other bass players. Yeah, like for instance, like most guys play standard tuning. You know, I play a 5 string bass, but I play what's called drop A tuning. So I'm a step and a half down on my bass, and
Okay.
so that meant that I had to kind of develop what size strings that I need, was how much tension that I need. I have like 5 or 6 basses, but I have one that's kind of like my reggae favorite, my white bass.
Nice.
And and it's like I can't even begin to tell you how other bass players approach their playing, but for me, I play what I feel.
Amen.
I can, and it's like I don't know if other guys hear like melodies in their head when they playing, but me, I hear one note. But I hear one note in my mind when I'm playing. And
And
it's
that's the
that
one that you're about to play, right?
yeah, it's that monotony and that consistency, and I'm playing different notes, but I hear one note. And
It's awesome, man.
hard to describe, but when I'm in the zone and I'm there, that's it, and I don't practice feels like if I don't practice those things because I may feel one way one day and I may feel another way another day. But for the
Yes.
most part, you know, I'll just play the line, you know,
Right.
and I'll take out notes before I put notes in.
That's smart, man. Yeah, you
Yeah,
definitely don't want to overdo it, and that's the beautiful thing about reggae too. There's not one instrument that's overpowering the other. It all plays together, which
yeah,
is a beautiful thing, man. So obviously you're a phenomenal bass player because you're playing with the one of the most awesome names in reggae music, Mr. Mighty Mystic. How did you come to play with Mighty Mystic, man? How has that been since you've been playing with him?
Like, you ever heard of a group called the Root Setters?
Of course.
Okay, well, the drummer for the Root Setters, good friend of mine, we were doing a show in New York. And while we were in New York, he said, "Yo, man, some people gonna call you. Mystic's looking for a bass player."
Nice.
And I was like, "Cool," because I knew the drummer who played with Mystic, Adam. I played with him before, so I got the call. He was in New York. They sent me the music on my drive back from New York to Jersey, and
Right.
that was Saturday. So that Wednesday, I did my first show with him, and that was over a year ago.
That's awesome, man. Very fantastic, bro. He's yeah, just phenomenal, man. I can't wait to actually see you playing with him. That's gonna be awesome.
Yeah.
So I know you've been around for a while. You've been a reggae fan for years. What does it take to keep reggae authentic, but still evolve as a band and create new stuff?
What does it take to keep reggae authentic?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. To keep that. Yeah. Exactly. But still evolve at the same time. You know, that's kind of hard to do.
Well, I think to keep it authentic and in order for it to continue to evolve, I think we need more artists who are not egotistical. Because
Amen. Amen.
we're living in a world where the music industry will cause one to get big headed. But if you
Yes.
stay humble and stay focused on what we're trying to do, your creativity will come. You're listening to God. If you
Right.
stay So now you're getting the message. And by you being humble with a message, the reggae music will give you the power to go perform it. That's
Yes.
just my philosophy. And I haven't really met any egotistical reggae artists. I haven't met any.
Right. Right.
I haven't met any. Everybody that I've met has been so cool, so humble, so down to earth that it's everything that I've thought that it would be.
That's
You know,
beautiful.
everything that I mean, we've been all over the country, and I've met some beautiful, you know, some
Yeah,
beautiful.
I think that's the beautiful thing about reggae is, if people are in it because they love reggae music, then they love the message. And if you love the message, then you're probably living the message. And if you're living the message, you're going to be a great person, you know,
Yes,
because that's what reggae music is all about. It's about unity, and it's about ending oppression, but it's about doing it through love. You know what I mean? And that's amazing. It's not violent at all. It's like, we can change this world with love. We don't need to be violent. We don't have to subscribe to any of that stuff. We can do it consciously, and it's a beautiful thing, man. It's amazing to have a form of music that came from that tiny little country that has the ability to literally change the entire world.
yeah, yeah.
Absolutely, man.
I feel very fortunate and blessed to have been introduced to um, not just the reggae culture, but the Jamaican culture, because the Jamaican people
Yes.
are a very strong and powerful people
Yeah.
and a loving people. We were just in Jamaica like last month. We was actually in Mystic's hometown. We were in Goshen. It was a beautiful experience, but we actually saw a lot of the areas where the hurricane hit, and a
Yes.
lot of people lost everything.
Yes.
But their spirits were still strong.
Always are. That's amazing to me, isn't it? Isn't that wild?
Yeah,
And
they
I read something. I do a lot of research. If you're at liberty to say that, isn't Mystic's like brother or someone in his close family pretty prominent figure over in Jamaica, like
yeah,
politics?
his
Yeah.
brother's the prime minister.
There we go. I knew it was something like that.
Yeah,
That's very cool, man. So, speaking of Jamaica, you mentioned wanting to explore Jamaican and American reggae artists unifying for tours. What exactly inspired that idea? Was it because you're American and you're part of Jamaican culture?
yeah. It's that. Plus, now with social media, we get an opportunity to see all of the reggae shows that's happening all over the country.
Sure.
And they have big shows all over, and it's a beautiful thing to see certain artists on the shows. But then, it's kind of sad to see other artists are not able to get on, and it's like,
Right.
I don't want that. I know, it's the business, and I'm not into the business thing. I'm into the
I
music,
hear you.
and I think that allowing the artists to work together, because in America we have a lot of different genres of music that if we mix it with reggae, we come up with some nice stuff. There's some excellent bands that are out now that's playing, mixing reggae and rock.
Oh, yeah.
Allow all of us to share, you know, because we have a message. And I think that, I think that's where the line is drawn. Like, what is your message? If somebody's singing some stuff that's not uplifting, is not positive, of course, the industry is going to try to push that because we know sometimes we get people in high places, and they want to do spiritual wickedness. You know what I'm saying? Because they don't want the communities to wake up. So it's always a fight.
I'm glad I'm in that.
Yeah, when you try to when you share spreading love and sharing a positive message, we still also have to speak on those things that are not right in our society.
Yes. And yes.
Yeah, same thing that what a preacher has to do. You preach love, but sometimes you have to preach about sin as well.
Yes.
And if your feelings get hurt, don't get mad at me. Get mad at the message. The message
Correct.
from God. And if you
Yes.
love God, you may feel hurt, but you're gonna be all right. And I can remember listening to Bob Marley growing up as a young kid, listening to his songs and listening to his message, and those things influencing my thinking and my mind and how I moved in life. You know, so that's why even now, like the Survival album, Kaya, Uprising, those albums hold dear to me. They hold very dear to me because I was at that stage where I knew the music, I knew how to play it. I was waiting for the next Bob Marley album to come out to hear what he was saying. So I was open. I was a young man, I was open. So when he started singing There's So Much Trouble in the World, I could see that there was trouble in the world, but I also realized I had work to do. I had a responsibility to go into the world and to do something about it. And I thank God for giving me the gift to be able to use these hands, to pluck strings, to travel the world, to be able to do something about it. So I think that we have to. I don't know how we're going to be able to break in, to be able to link up with some of the bigger groups or whatever. But we've met some of these guys. Like you ever heard of the band called Pacifier?
Big time. I love Pacifier.
Yeah.
I've seen them live 3 or 4 times.
Yeah. Well, not too long ago, we were in the studio with them, and I had a chance to really vibe close because Mystic was in there working on his next album, and I actually got a an amplifier from the bass player from Pacifier.
Nice.
Yeah, so I'm when I go on tour, when I use it, I'm gonna keep the logo on, out of respect from where it came
Yes,
from.
absolutely. Yep. That's beautiful.
Those are the things, like all of the bass players and all of the groups. To me, they're all my brothers.
Amen. Certainly. It's a family, man. And the beautiful thing that you just mentioned is you're like, it's about carrying that message and the powers that be if they see somebody who's got kind of a message that's not so, you know, pure or, that's not so nice that they'll kind of push that. So I've always said if you take Christian music and you put evil lyrics, it's not Christian music anymore. So if we take reggae music and we put lyrics about partying and sleeping with girls and getting all messed up, is it still reggae music? Because reggae music was started for social change and it had a message. I mean, if you take that message away, how is it still reggae music? And I struggle with that because there's some bands that sing songs, you know what I mean? That's not like a positive message, that are out there that are considered reggae. But I'm like, isn't it, and I'm not here to call anybody out. I'm just trying to get other people's opinions. When you remove the message of God and of unity and of love, how is it still reggae music? You know what I mean? And I struggle with that because, I mean, is it not, or because to me, reggae wasn't just the music. It was the whole thing. You know what I mean? It's the message. It's the music. It's everything together that made reggae reggae. You take one part away, like it is what it is. I mean, you take alcohol out of beer, you have water. You know?
But I mean, you kind of touched on it. You said like if you listen to gospel music, if they take the message out of the music, is it still gospel music?
Of course not.
but it's not. But you know, the industry would call it contemporary gospel, or they call it CCM. They'll
Right.
come up with all these names, you know, and then they will take the whole genre and make it all about praise. If you
Yeah.
listen to gospel music, it's all about praise, but there are more aspects to the Christian society than just praise. That's just that's just one aspect of it. So same thing in reggae. There are different aspects of reggae music. You had the old school reggae, you got the dance hall, you got
I listen to the UK steppers reggae. I love that stuff, you know?
oh yeah, you know, and even still, like, you know, growing up listening to Still Pulse,
Yeah.
Swat, and things like
Yep.
that. Then I even heard even in their music kind of move from more roots to try to move towards mainstream. But there's somebody that's telling them, hey, in order for you guys to be relevant, you need to start doing this, you need to start doing that. So then they
Right.
it, and then the real fans don't like it, then they come back, you
Right.
know. And I think the same
Yeah.
thing happens to the society of reggae music. It's moving to the other direction, but it's going to have to come back. It's going to have
Yes,
to,
I firmly
so,
believe that.
yeah, because people are still hurting.
Yes.
You can go drink to try to drink your sorrows away, but when you sober up the next day, you still got the problems. Now you have a hangover.
Right.
So
Yes.
at some point you have to stop. So somebody has to continue singing. Stop living like that.
Right. Yeah, someone's got, I talked to my friends about this. I'm like, when I started my podcast, like what's it going to be about? I was like, conscious roots reggae music. I say conscious roots reggae music. I'm not going to have, this is what I choose. It's the music with the message that I want to represent. And they're like, well, a lot of the scene, is going more towards the party music. I'm like, here's the deal. That's fine if they want to do that. But somebody has to continue to carry the torch because people will eventually get tired of being burned and they will come around and seek the truth. And it
Yeah,
needs to be there still. And I think a lot of people may not, a lot of people might not love, the conscious roots reggae, or they might like the party style more because if they're listening to, music that's talking about change, talking about unity, talking about love, it kind of makes you evaluate yourself. And if you're not living that way, then you might start to question yourself. And nobody wants to look at themselves and say, you know what, maybe I need to change.
yeah. Well,
or some people do, but I think a lot of people it makes them uncomfortable.
yeah,
So,
true that. True that. That's why even for myself, being a gospel artist and being a reggae artist, I struggled with blending the two, but
yes.
I did. I blended the two. I have my CD that I'm working on. It's called Revival, and I have one song on there. It's called While It's Day, and it's from the
Okay.
scripture when Jesus said, "Work while it's day, because when night come, no man can work." So that's the hook to the song. It's the lyrics are spiritual, gospel, but not like, oh, let's praise the Lord. No, I'm talking about actually gospel doctrine, messages from the Gospels, messages from the Psalms, messages from the Old Testament, but actual messages. You know what I'm saying? And I'm doing it on top of reggae music, you know?
Yes, absolutely.
So yeah, so I mean we can use the genre to get a message across. And there's a bunch of artists out there that are really good that sing uplifting lyrics onto reggae music, and they're very, very good.
Absolutely, man. So, speaking of that, what, in your opinion, since you are an American artist, but you're in the culture, what should American artists do to show respect to the roots without imitating or kind of diluting it? You know what I mean? Well, I think imitation is okay. You kind of you love it. You want to be like you want to adopt the culture. I subscribe to Rastafari. I know a lot of Americans that do, but in your opinion, how could the artists, people like me or folks like yourself, show respect to the roots, but without diluting it? You know what I'm saying, or imitating it?
Well, one thing that I learned when I first started playing, and I'm still a student of reggae music,
Certainly.
it's literally impossible for Americans for us to have 100% roots.
Yes,
So we have to imitate it. And
I
I
agree.
think,
That's what I was saying. Yeah.
yeah, I think that if we keep trying to get as close as we can, I think by trying, we are showing respect.
Amen. Yes, I like
I,
that.
yes, I think if we keep trying, and not just that, I would also add that as a people, as a society of American musicians, I think we should read more. Read more scripture, read more about the history of the diaspora, read more about the history of world leaders around the world who tried to champion civil rights in the countries. Learn more about the histories of the African countries. This is what Bob
Yes,
Marley would do. And
Ethiopia. Yes,
yes, Ethiopia, Ghana, Nigeria,
yes,
South
yep,
Africa, Botswana, Azania, Malawi, Zambia. There's so much history, and there's a lot of us in Africa. A lot of
yes.
us. Yes, there's a lot of us. And I
And
think
I firmly believe that it's the I talk to people about this. I mean, I firmly believe it's the I guess they call it the motherland, or I believe that Africa's the original. That's where life came from. It's I believe, well, technically I think we're all from, we all came from that continent. And it's funny. You're raised. My dad's a Southern Baptist minister. I was raised in the church. Every picture you saw of Jesus, he was a white dude with blonde, long hair. I was like, he was in no way, shape, or form, a Caucasian. Jesus was a man of color. You know what I'm saying? And it's just something people don't think about, and they don't respect that, or you know, a lot of people just believe what they're told, and they
well,
don't do research. But like you said, it's very important to research and read.
if you notice, if you look around the world, anyone who wants to bring love into the world, or a positive message, or a message of people, really do a really good self inventory on yourself. Look how you living. If anybody in the history of mankind that's ever said something or did something like that, they killed them.
Right.
They killed them. So
That's correct.
yeah, so I think we need to know these things, and I think that we don't have to beat each other over the head and say, "Oh, you wrong." But I think that if we come together, even especially if we look different, if we come together and we're in the same concert venue and we're listening to the music and we're jamming on the same rhythm, that's where we can start. That's why I love reggae music, because I tell you, everywhere we played, I look at the crowds and I see people of all colors and creeds
Yes.
jamming to the music. You know,
Amen.
so I
Yep.
think I think the music has the power within it to unify us as a society.
It
You know,
does.
yeah. So
It
we
sure as
all
hell does.
have
I
to
love
do
it.
and that's it. And I know I'm responsible for my part, and as long as I got breath in me, I'm going to do my part.
Yes. And Roz Marcus Benjamin, right? Mystics
Yeah,
booking.
yeah,
Yeah. I just had him on the podcast, and he brought up a really good point. He said he believes that Bob Marley was born mixed, biracial, half white, half black, to unify the world, and I believe that firmly. You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
That's a beautiful way to look at it, but I firmly do believe that. And it's a lot of people are just I don't know, lazy, or they don't want to listen to something that invokes change, because like, oh, that means I have to do something, or I have to pay attention, or I have to admit that things aren't perfect. But turning a
You know
blind
what?
eye to oppression and stuff like that doesn't make it disappear.
Yeah, but it's a beautiful thing. I'm glad you mentioned that, because I was thinking about Princess Di earlier today, and it reminded me of some of the British people that I met when I lived in Africa. And one guy told me, he said, we're different colors. So when we look at each other and we don't understand what we see, it's easy for us to be at odds. He said, but if we close our natural eye, open our open our spiritual eyes,
That's right.
and look at each other from within.
Yes.
If we can begin to do that, then it makes sense. We start from within and then work our way out. So by the time we do come to the outside, it really don't matter.
Yes.
Because people can say, "Oh yeah," because Bob Marley he's mixed. We all of us are mixed.
You're damn right we are. Yes. No, that's true. And I was talking to somebody at work about that the other day. I was like, we are energy and consciousness. I was like, skin and bones, that's not us. When we, leave this earth, our spirit, our soul goes somewhere. So we're not this body. So how could you judge somebody on something that they are not? It's just a suit that you're wearing. You know what I'm saying? It's not you. It doesn't define you. And it's I firmly believe that. I just wish people could look past all that. But that's why I love reggae music. It brings that to the forefront. And then, there's still awful things going on. That's why I say at the beginning of my podcast, the message is still as valid today as it was in the 60s when it first came out.
Yeah.
People definitely need to be hearing it. Now, I know nothing is off limits for you, so let me go ahead and ask. What is something about the reggae industry that people don't talk about enough?
About the reggae industry.
That people don't talk about enough, is there something going on in the background that we don't know about, or I mean, there any hidden secrets or anything?
Well, I don't know what the hidden secrets are, or I don't know what it is.
Mm-hmm.
But only thing that I can say is that I know Mystic. He works very very hard.
Yes.
I mean, he works hard to bring a show, and I mean, it's not what you see on stage is what's on the other side of the equation, but on the opposite side of that equation, all of that he does, and all of the things that we go through, I think there's a lot of bands that's like that's going through, that are working very hard. And I don't know if there's a glass ceiling or whatever. I don't know what I think that's whatever it is needs to ease up and let these artists you know get to the big stages, man.
Yeah,
That's it.
heard. Yep.
Just get to the stages. And we're not trying to get to the big stages to pat ourselves on the back to say this. We're not trying to get to the big stages there. We're trying to get to the big stages because we have a message.
That's exactly right.
The message of love is a message of unity because we're living the love and the unity everywhere we go. Everywhere we go, we meet people who not only love the music, but they support the music. And I'm talking about real people, man. I have met so many loving people all over this country who love reggae music and support us.
Yes.
That is the message that we want to just double it and triple it. And that's it.
Yes.
That's it. That's it, bro. That's it.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's a beautiful thing as an artist to know that you're positively impacting somebody's life, I mean, if you just affect one person in a positive way through your music, man, your job is done. Everything else is just a bonus, I think,
Man, listen, I have met people because we have different families that support the bands when we travel to different cities.
Right.
So many people who are just some loving people.
Yes.
It's changed me.
Right. That's beautiful.
Yeah, it's changed me to the point where that's all I want to do now is just play music. That's all I want to do is play. But we have to do what we have to do so that we can get through life and do what we got to do. But I would love to be able to just travel the world, and play music, and just give back to society what Bob Marley gave to me.
That's right.
I have such respect for the whole community of reggae music.
Yes, me too. Absolutely. And I wish, I mean, I definitely do my own thing, but I get inspiration from people like Bob Marley, So not like I would say I mimic him, but I wish people would listen and maybe put into action some of the things he said, like literally get up, stand up, fight for your rights, don't give up. You know what I mean? And it's a beautiful thing that it's there, though. It's available for people to hear whenever they're ready. That's when positive change happens, when people actually put things like that into action. So after the 40 years, man, what keeps you inspired to play, to tour, and to push that culture forward?
Anyone that knows me will tell you that ever since they've known me, I've always played bass and I've always played reggae.
Beautiful.
And I always talk about the scripture. Those are
Yes.
three that define who I am. I think that I'm inspired because it's who I am. It's what I'm supposed to do.
Yes, that's beautiful.
Yeah, I can do other things. Like right now, as I'm talking to you, I'm laying the floor. I'm almost
Right?
40. I can do other things,
Yeah.
but I think I'm best at being on stage, cutting up.
Yeah, I mean, you know your calling. That's a beautiful thing. You're not walking away from it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, I could, I could be, I was a restaurant manager for 17 years, but I hated it. Now I have the best job in the world. You know, I work on a horse farm. I drive horses. I drive horse-drawn carriages. I don't make as much money as I did as a restaurant manager, but it's what I'm supposed to be doing. And money's
Yeah,
not everything because I'm
that's right.
happier than I've ever been. But it's and I have the time to do the podcast and play in my bands and spread that positive message of reggae music. I have all the time I need to be able to do that, and that's a beautiful thing. And that's what's important to me. You know, when I die, I'm not taking money with me,
That's right.
you know, but I sure do, when I confront, God on any level, I love him to be able to look at me and say, you did a good job. You spread
Hmm.
love. You spread peace. You spread unity, not you sowed discord. You were, you know, awful to people. That's no good, man. It's no good. And I would hope most people would definitely think that way. So you got that experience, man. What advice would you give to young bass players specifically stepping into reggae music?
Young bass player specifically stepping into reggae. Um, I'll give this first part of advice that I saw on an album years ago. I had bought a Still Pulse album, and like
Nice.
where the paper is in the middle, they have
Yeah.
the clear plastic. Well, I don't know who did it, but there was always messages in that area, and one of them
Nice.
said, "Study reggae anthology."
Nice.
Reggae anthology. So I would say for any bass player that wants to get in, first of all, other than learning your instrument and learning the notes and everything, learn every rhythm you can possibly learn.
Yes.
Names of the rhythms. Find you a DJ and make that DJ your best friend because I tell you, a DJ
Yes.
is the bass player's best friend. Listen to the music before you attempt to start playing it. Just sit on and listen. Let it, let it come in. Let it sit and marinate in you first.
Sure.
And as you're listening to the music, you gotta read. I don't mean read notes. I mean read books. If you want to be a reggae bass player, you have to be one who reads books. And then after that, learn everything that Bob Marley has ever done.
That's right.
You got to start with Bob. You got to go to Peter. You got to go to Bun. You got to do Black Uhuru. You got to
Yes.
do Aswad, Still Pulse. You have to do, the Abyssinians. You just got
Yeah.
to
Abyssinia.
learn.
Apple
And,
Gabriel, man.
as a reggae bass player, you got to learn it. You got to learn. You got to learn some BB King.
Yes.
You got to learn some blues. You got to listen to some blues. If you want to be a good reggae bass player, you have to learn how to play the blues, you know? And
Yes,
then
absolutely.
yeah, and then after that, you link up with a drummer and you guys get tight. Then
Yes.
after you get tight, you can just go out and you can just start playing as drum and bass. And I guarantee you, guitar players and keyboard players will come, you know.
Absolutely. 100%, man.
Sure.
I do wish I had learned how to play the keys, man. I really do because I just love them. I love reggae keys. You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't even really need a guitar player. You can have a nice, the keyboard player, the bass player, the drummer. I just and then not like I don't love a good reggae guitar player. I'm just saying the keys are such a vital part, in my opinion, of a good reggae track. I love the keys, man. I really do.
Yeah.
Absolutely fantastic. Well, thank you so much, man. It was definitely an honor to have you on. I was very excited when I connected with you on social media, and we made it happen. So, are you in Jersey now?
Yes, I'm in Jersey, and actually, this Monday we're going to Aguila for a week.
Nice. I was just gonna ask, what's going on? You got any music coming out? You got any tours coming up? You got any shows coming up?
Yep, we're going to Aguila for a week. Then when we come back, we got some shows lined up. January, February, March, April. Benji is the hardest working guy, I tell you. Benji.
Yeah, oh yeah, man. Yeah, Ross Michael, yeah.
Yes.
Ross Benjamin, yeah. He's a trip.
Benji, I'll tell you, Benji is he's like our big brother,
Yeah.
He's like our big brother, and then when we're with him, we treat him like he's a little brother,
Yeah, right?
Yeah, we make sure we take care of him. But I tell you, Ben, that's like I said, I've met some beautiful people, and Benji's one of those people,
That's fantastic, man. Well, I'm so glad. Speaking of beautiful people, I'm so glad that I had the opportunity to meet you, and definitely at the next Mystic show, you see a hippie walk up to you with his hat on, man, you'll know it's me, man. So I'm definitely looking forward to seeing you. When are you guys coming to Florida?
I don't have the itinerary, but we are definitely coming back to Florida.
Beautiful, man.
Yeah. If you can follow Mystic on his Mighty Mystics Facebook page.
I do, definitely.
Yeah. So he's gonna be posting some stuff up.
Okay.
And yeah.
Beautiful, man. I'd love to come. I'll represent the podcast. Do some interviews at the show, get some crowd interviews, get some footage, and make a nice documentary style podcast documenting the show. That'd be great, man.
It'd be wonderful.
Awesome. Well, Kwani, man, thank you so much for taking the time out of your day. I know everybody's busy. Like you said, you were laying the floor. You stopped what you were doing to hop on the podcast with me, and I truly appreciate that, man. So thank you so much.
Respect.
Absolutely, my friend. And let me go ahead and say that there's strength in unity, so build your community. Follow me on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok at Hippie-Fari, and shoot me an email, hippiefarreggae@gmail.com, and check out my website, hippiefari.com. And this is Scotty the High-Strung Hippie and Kira the Irie Empress, reminding you to speak your mind before somebody else does it for you. And do something nice for somebody today. Grab flowers for your partner. Smoke out a stranger. Slip the homeless man a buck. But whatever you do it from the heart, because all good things start with the heart. Peace, love, and Rasta rhythms are all a part of the reggae revolution. One love, fam.
One love.